Hey,
Hey.
back with episode 6 of Scratch the Hog. Special guest today, Justin. Who do you have there?
I have my beautiful wife, Mandy, with us today. Um,
Mandy.
yeah, and so, I want to start getting Mandy involved in this because she is the other half of Heifer and Hog,
I'm the heifer.
and I'm the hog.
Beautiful. Lovely. Awesome. So this is actually going to be kind of a special episode, maybe a seasonal episode, a topic that's near and dear to all of us, something that we love. Maybe before we get into we can always just do the subscribe. We're on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and always welcoming feedback. So you can message us on all those platforms, or you can email us at scratchthehog@gmail.com. So, what's our topic today? What's our topic? What are we talking about?
We are talking about ramps.
Ramps. Um, it is a quick, short season. These
Mhm.
are only found in the wild. Can't really cultivate them. It's kind of
Hmm.
tricky. And some people actually call them wild leeks too, regionally.
We
So
do.
if
Yeah.
people often call them leeks, so these are the same. These are not like the big leeks that you find in the grocery store. Those those are leeks, but these are actually called ramps. So, what do you want to give a little background of what these are and where you find them?
Yeah, so basically they grow a lot in the eastern part, northeastern part of the US. And they grow in wooded areas around rivers and creeks. They really like sandy soil and they like shade a lot.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And they start popping up around beginning of April, and then they go into the beginning of May. Some people say that the season is around 2 weeks, but we find around here it's more about like a month or so, so you have a little bit
Hmm.
more room. It just depends on if you want to pick them when they're smaller, or if you want to wait until the beginning of May to when they're much bigger.
Do you feel like there's a difference in flavor from when they're smaller to larger?
Flavor, I don't know, but texture, yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Like when
okay,
you pick the little guys, they're definitely more tender.
okay.
I like to go later in the season and dig out some really mature ones for pickling with because they just stand up
Gotcha.
better in the
Yeah,
canning process.
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, much
And
better.
the leaves are bigger, and you can
Yes.
let's not forget about the leaves are an ingredient in and of themselves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are very much like it's kind of a divide and conquer, literally,
Yeah.
because we use the leaves for specific things and we use the stems and bulbs for
Hmm.
specific things.
Yep.
So you guys have obviously got some ramps recently. What have you been working on making?
Yeah, so we picked about I would say maybe 7 pounds of
We
ramps.
didn't weigh them this year. We usually weigh them, and
Yeah,
we just forgot to this year. But yeah, it was at least 6 pounds
yeah.
that we dug out, and we did make a little instructional video that we will attach to this
Oh,
regarding how to dig them
excellent.
out
Hmm.
responsibly because this is a
Yes.
very hot button issue. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people say don't dig them, only take the leaves. And I kind of feel like that's mostly true. But if you have a really good spot where they are just super dense, it's okay to dig a few out here and there and give them more room to
Hmm.
grow
Yeah.
Yeah.
back. And because one of the main things that we like to do with them is pickle them, I
Mm-hmm.
really prefer using this. Like I said, the stems and the bulbs just hold up much better in the pickling and canning
Hmm.
Yeah.
process. So, like, this is a freshly canned jar here. This is like a sweet French pickle that I do, and it has like a sweet brine with a lot of sugar in it and a little bit of salt. Fennel seeds, mustard seeds, fenugreek gives it a really subtle mapley flavor. They're fantastic on a charcuterie board or on a sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow.
I love pickled ramps. I just cut them up and put them on everything. Any
Hmm.
sandwich, eggs. Oh God, they're so
Oh,
good on
wow.
everything.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
mentioned I want to kind of dig in because you mentioned that these things grow in big patches in the woods. People are pretty particular, like secretive about where they
Right.
go, right? Like
Yeah.
it's not like to the extent of truffle hunting, but it's like I have a
Oh, yeah.
spot and I'm only gonna kind of allude to where it is. I'm not gonna
Right.
tell you where it is.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. People always ask us, like, oh, where's your spot? Oh,
you're like
We're like up
like,
north.
yeah,
north-ish.
it's up north. Yeah. Yeah. Um, and like every time we go, like we never see any traces of other people picking. So that's why we're comfortable just picking like the bulbs, like digging up everything. Um,
Right.
but like if you're along a trail, like a really popular trail, and then you see some, that would be a situation where I would just trim a few of the leaves off and then leave the bulbs so they
Hmm.
keep coming back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The spot
Yeah.
that we have access to is they grow so densely you can't take a step without stepping on them.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
this is the one spot where we're comfortable digging some out
Hmm.
because they're actually getting to the point where they're choking each other
Yeah.
out.
So we're
So
actually helping them.
yeah, no, I think like anything, it's well, I think ramps got really popular. A lot of people have been making videos about them. I think Bon Appetit did a whole like ramp thing.
Mhm.
Yep.
Now they're in restaurants, so they definitely have been getting traction. But like for years, where I live, there's always been like leek festivals, and they're wild ramps like and there's people are making leek dip and leek pizza and all these leek things. Like they just go out, they dig them up, and they come back, and there's like no problem with them repopulating because the demand wasn't as high as it is now. So I will agree. I have 3 ramp videos online, and some people did call me out on like, oh, how dare you like pull them out of but you should only cut them. And it's like, well, then you only get the leaves, and like the best part is like one of the best parts is the bulby oniony part, and there's so much more stuff you can do to it. So um, you can cut them as close as you
Mhm.
can, but you know
Yeah.
you know just be mindful and respectful, I guess, of where you are, and don't tell anybody where your location is so more people don't
Right.
take them.
And if you just, dig up a little bit from each patch and don't
Yeah,
dig up the whole patch, it
Right.
still gives them an opportunity to continue
to
to
regenerate.
regenerate and to
No.
spread out. So it just depends on like the size of the patch and how much you're taking. But I've read that if you take about a quarter of each patch, that's still enough for them to continue to keep growing.
Nice. Yeah.
So
And
we're
I'm
not too
sure
worried
you
about that.
didn't even touch a quarter of it. It sounds like you have a
Oh
pretty
no,
nice
no,
plush
yeah,
area. Nice.
yeah.
Cool. So let's talk about those pickles a little bit. So I love all things pickled. I think pickled ramps
Mhm.
are really good. And do you typically do the French, like this French brine, or is this a new type? Do you like every season? Do
I
you
kind
do
of
a different pickle?
yeah, I snagged this recipe off of Food 52 actually, and I tried it a few years ago and just fell in love with it. So that's kind of
Mm.
my go-to for just ramps in a jar. But I also do ramp dilly beans that
Oh,
a lot of our friends request.
They are so good. Like,
mm,
can't even describe how good they are.
Yeah. And for those, I just followed like a classic dill pickle recipe, but I replaced the cucumbers with green beans and replaced the garlic with ramps. And then I kind of throw in more ramps than it calls for
sure.
garlic because
Yeah.
they're delicious. Why wouldn't you? So yeah, the
Well,
ratio
yeah.
on that I would say is like 2-part green bean to 1-part ramp, and the
Hmm.
brine is just a classic dill pickle brine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should actually. So a lot of people probably haven't even had ramps or leeks. They're interesting because they're oniony and garlicky. Like
Yeah.
they're not they're not. It doesn't taste like a full onion, and it doesn't taste like garlic. It's something in between, and they're really lovely little things.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, I did a spicy ramp pickle with like a bunch of Szechuan and pink peppercorns and stuff, and
Ooh,
that was pretty
nice.
good too. Like spicy ramps,
Mm.
Hmm.
you know, dried
And I know
chilies and stuff.
I think you and I talked about this last year because you were on the big chili crisp kick.
Oh, I love chili crispy.
I made ramp chili crisp last year. It is
How'd you do
insane.
that? Did you try, like,
But
did you dehydrate the ramps first?
no, I just followed a pretty
Oh,
basic chili crisp recipe, but
oh,
replaced. I think they have you using scallions that you fry in the oil.
oh, so you fried the ramps. Oh
Hmm.
shit,
Yeah,
that sounds good.
Dude, it
Oh
was wild.
shit,
It was
yeah,
so wild.
shit.
Something that you need to
Wow,
play around with.
yeah. So I'm gonna
that's
have to
cool.
make another jar of that this year with the last little bit of these ramps that we have left for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's such a short season that it makes you like make make a bunch of stuff that you can enjoy and prepare it
Yes,
in a way that you can enjoy it for a long time, and you want to like use the entirety. So um you know, you're pickling, so that's you're going to do some pickle jars and give them out to people, and you're going to have some that you'll crack open in a few months if you can contain
Hmm.
yep.
yourselves. But then there's like more fresh preparations with just the ramps, right? Like what kind of other stuff are you guys doing?
We're doing ramp pesto. We made
Mm.
a potato and ramp soup using like blending up the leaves, sautéing the bulb so has like a nice bright green uh, appearance to it, and the flavor was really really nice. Um, what else have we made? You
I
made something
made, yeah,
recently.
I made. Do you know if I say like a strata? You know what I'm talking about? Like an egg strata. It's
Okay.
basically a breakfast casserole, but
Yeah, gotcha.
strata's a bougie name for it. Yeah.
Sure.
So I had, we had like some leftover bread bits and pieces. Cube those up, whisk up some eggs, and some cream, and we had some ham left over from something too. Cube up that ham, you mix all that together, and then I just had like a huge bundle of ramp leaves that I just like did a chiffonade on,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of toss that in the eggy bready ham mixture, bake that in the oven. It was
Ooh,
So
so
good.
so rampy. Like you are gonna stink all day for eat if you eat this for breakfast, but it's
that's all right.
worth it. So good.
Gotcha. So it's
Oh,
almost
you
like
made
a like pseudo breakfast casserole puddingy
Bread
kind of
pudding,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
like a
nice.
savory
Yeah,
bread pudding, essentially.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, very
nice, nice,
eggy
nice.
bread
Hmm.
pudding.
Yeah. She also made a artichoke spinach and ramp dip
Yes,
for friends that we had come
That's
over
clever.
last week, and it was insanely
it
good.
got devoured. Well,
Yeah,
yeah. Did he? Have you guys talked about his new toy that he bought recently?
Your
the,
pizza
the rock
oven.
box.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
rock
So
box.
yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, we my brother makes has been doing wood. He has the like original uni, and it's a
Hmm.
wood pellet one,
Hmm.
and he actually just upgraded it to the propane dome. He was like
Oh, he
he's
got the
had this,
dough.
well, he's had the uni wood pellet thing, and it's a little finicky. You know, you gotta always, and you're sometimes it gets smoky, you gotta let it burn off, whatever, whatever. And he's
Yeah.
been like looking at the dome, looking at the dome, looking at the dome forever. And he just ordered it this week, and I was like, oh shit, I'm so excited to
Ah,
play with this thing. But
dude,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
they make such good things, and like not even just pizzas. You know, putting cast
Mhm.
iron vegetables and
well,
stuff
Oh
that's
like
yeah.
that's where I'm
the
going with
stuff you
this.
guys were doing was looks so good.
We cooked this ramp spinach artichoke dip in the rock box, so it was like super bubbly
Mhm.
and like I don't want
Did
to
you
say
use
charry on
the
top, but really nice and brown on top. It was amazing.
Yeah.
did you use the entire ramp for that, like the leaves all the way down
Just
to the
the
bulbs?
just the greens. Just the
Okay,
greens.
so
Yeah.
it's almost like instead of all spinach, it was a mix of spinach and ramp leaves.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Oh,
Because
that's so clever.
I took a handful of baby spinach. I took a handful of chopped up ramp leaves. I just did a super quick saute on the stove to wilt them a little bit to
Uh
give them a
huh.
head start. Mix them up with the cream cheese, the chopped up artichokes, and the grated cheese, and just like press that in a little gratin pan. And then I laid just slices of Swiss cheese on top
Mm-hmm.
to get it like a nice gooey.
Mm,
Well, I thought I was going to get a cheese pool, but then it gets so brown and crispy in the rock
Yeah.
box. It was more of like a cheese brulee that I was
cheese br-
actually crack.
sure.
I literally was
Patent
cracking it with
pending.
a spoon. Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Jesus, cheese brulee. Oh
You
God.
heard it first here
Yeah,
on Scratch the Hog. Cheese
getting
brulee
Yeah, say
hot under the
trademark that
collar.
right
Whew,
dip. Yeah.
gotta fan myself. Gotta fan myself there. Cheese brulee.
Yeah. It was fantastic. I'm definitely going to make it again.
Yes, you should.
That is super clever and creative because it's something that's like okay, spinach artichoke dip. It's good. People like it. It's super ubiquitous. Like it's
Mhm.
everywhere. But to think like ramp leaves, I don't know. They kind of look like spinach. Let's make a
Mhm.
dip. Oh, like that's
They
fun.
taste
That's like really
garlicky.
fun. That's when like
Yeah.
cooking's fun because you've obviously never made that before, and you're like, this should work. And
Yeah.
then it came out freaking awesome because you put you invented cheese brulee first of all, and you got to
Yeah.
use you got to use a new piece of equipment, which those things are so much fun to use. And the pizzas coming out of there are unbelievable home pizzas. Like they're so good.
We're actually making pizza tonight, and I
Mhm.
plan on making a ramp pizza, just
I was
throwing
going to ask
whole ramp
if
on
you've
there.
done it yet. Yeah. So what are you
It's gonna
thinking?
happen.
Like what is the ramp pizza going to be? What are your
So, uh, as of right now, I'm just thinking sauce, ramps, and cheese. But
okay.
I don't know. We're gonna discuss a little bit more and see what we can do. But
My thought, I feel like the best way to utilize them so that you get a little bit of rampiness in all the pizzas is to make a very simple ramp pizza sauce
mhm.
where you are just taking your whole San Marzanos or plum tomatoes, whatever you like, and
Mhm.
crushing them into a pot where and like finally chopping up some ramp leaves and just throwing them in there.
Yeah, or chop up the
Yeah.
bulb, saute them, then throw the sauce in. A little
Yeah,
bit of
Mhm.
or a
salt.
little bit of both. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Or even that like pesto ramp pesto pizza, like a
yeah,
pesto,
We
yeah.
have
you
a
know,
whole
cheese
jar
pizza.
of ranch pesto in the fridge right now. So
Cool.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I made 6 dough balls, so we can make 6 different ramp pizzas.
God, I
And
love
our
doing
one friend that's
donuts.
coming over is vegan, so it's perfect opportunity.
Well, the
Oh,
Nice.
except the
pesto has
pesto.
cheese in
Pesto
it.
has cheese in it.
Well, she's kind of
Oh,
like
vegan
flexitarian.
light.
She's yeah.
Flexitarian.
She's yeah. No, she's like
Yeah.
not like if you serve me something with a slice of cheese, I'm going to freak out. Vegan. It's
Right.
more of just
Right.
like I seriously am scaling back my animal product
Hmm.
Sure.
consumption.
Yeah.
Sure. Um, I man, I'm just thinking about how I need to make pickled ramps right now so I can enjoy them throughout the rest of the year. And by rest of the year, I mean I'll probably eat all of them in like 6 weeks. But
Yeah. Did
they're
you
so
go?
freaking good.
Did you
Yeah.
go picking yet?
So my dad has a hefty location, and he got some. So I need to get a hold of him to go out because he doesn't even. I don't even know where it is, to be honest. He doesn't tell
He
me.
doesn't
Um,
does he like put a black bag over your head and drive you to the spot?
yeah, he like tranquilizes me, throws me in the back of the truck, and then
You
I
just
wake
wake
up
up
like,
laying in a
oh,
field surrounded
yeah,
by
yeah,
wildly.
yeah. My pants around my ankles. It's a whole thing.
Oh God.
No, just kidding.
Jesus.
um, yeah, I need to get a hold of him because I think he uh, actually did a smoked. Um, he built a smokehouse at his house, and he smoked his cream cheese and then did like a smoked ramp leek dip or smoke ramp dip. I'm not sure how it turned out actually, but it might be good. I don't know.
So he cold smokes in that?
Yeah,
In
I
his
think he can do
smoker?
both. Yeah, yeah,
Mm, mm. That
Interesting.
sounds really good.
yeah. I mean, you'd have to be able to cold smoke cream cheese, else you just have like
Yeah, it's just melty, gooey,
there's nothing left. It
smoky
just
mess.
Just have a puddle of
on the
smoky
bottom of the
cream cheese.
smoker.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. I do need to. I'll text him later today. I didn't get to catch up with him yesterday because I do want to get a pile of because I love making pesto. Um, I've made my pesto with almonds too, and I thought that worked
Mm,
really well. You don't have
hmm.
to use you know when you make any nut will really work. You don't have to just use pine nuts when you make pesto.
And pine nuts are so
Yeah.
expensive.
They're
Ours,
really
the
expensive.
fridge right now is actually made with walnuts
I was
because
gonna say
we
walnuts would be perfect too.
Mhm.
they're great. We recently went to the Delalo Italian Market in Jeanette, and they are
Mm,
selling whole or not whole, but like walnut halves, like the nice big
hmm.
bits for like $1.99 a pound all the time.
Oh,
So
Like,
we just
nice.
like
yeah, it's
load
like
up on
an
walnuts.
unreal price for walnuts. Like I've never seen walnuts at
Hmm.
that price
Yeah.
before.
So we have a ton of walnuts right now, and we have a ton of ramps. So
Yeah.
walnut ramp pesto was what was happening.
Yep.
It's cool. That's, walnuts are way more like an earthy flavor than a pine nut, and
Yeah.
it seems like it would work, really well with like the earthy sort of rampy thing going on.
Mhm.
They're
Oh
also
yeah.
super fatty. Like they would work
Yeah.
perfect
I was
with.
Yeah.
gonna say they're like meatier than I
Yeah.
Yeah.
feel most other nuts, so you can really like. I mean, you
Yeah.
can you can add oil after you make your pesto. You can add more oil to it in a pan and make it saucier, but you can also leave it really thick and use it as like a spread on a sandwich, which is
Hmm.
Mm.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It almost
Mm-hmm.
has that same fattiness as pine nuts,
Yeah.
But they're
because it's like
heartier.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's good
Perfect.
because I mean, when you think pesto, basil's like it wilts when you look at it. You go, oh
Right.
god,
Yeah.
it's so fragile, and the pine nut is really fragile. But like a ramp, like this is like a very sturdy, intense, like
Hmm.
pow flavor.
Yeah.
It's woodier. It's that leaf is so much thicker uh, you know, in texture than basil. So yeah, just like hearty nuts. Oh, that's a good one, hearty nuts. That
Another t-shirt
but
hat idea.
yeah,
Hardy Nuts trademark.
Hardy Nuts trademark that cheese brulee, Hardy Nuts. This is great. Um,
It's the
we're
Hardy
gonna,
Nuts.
I'm gonna write that down. Hardy
Featuring
Nuts.
cheese brulee.
Hardy Nuts. Is it nuts with
Like the
an S
Hardy,
or
the
nuts
Hardy
with a
Boys,
Z?
but it's the Hardy
Yeah.
Nuts.
Hardy
But
Nuts.
I wanted to say something about, you were saying you can pickle a whole bunch of ramps and just, have to keep yourself from popping them
Yeah.
all open and eating them all at once. But I'll tell you what, like when you want to put together a super fancy charcuterie board during the holidays and you can pop open some
Mm.
really sweet, nice ramps that have just been sitting in that brine for 6 months, people get really like, what
Yeah.
are those?
Hmm. It's a
Yeah.
great conversation starter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and let me tell you about all of my ramp knowledge. Yeah. How much time do you have? Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, see these ramps? I pick these with my bare hands.
Right.
I foraged
Yeah.
for these.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a great conversation starter. It's also just really fun to have something. Uh, I'm trying to think of the other thing that we always do this with, but I think it's really fun to have something that is springtime seasonal in the dead of winter when you're just like sick of butternut squash everything all the time.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's like a nice little break. Hey, remember spring?
And you're like, it's coming soon. We'll be picking these. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's neat too. Like it's kind of an easy thing to kind of get into foraging. Like I wouldn't recommend people just going out and picking mushrooms. You'll probably die or get really sick if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But if you know what ramps are, they're pretty obvious to locate because they
Yeah.
have two leaves and they grow up in these big patches. And
The only thing that
um,
looks like them is lily of the valley, which is outrageously poisonous. But
make sure
Yeah.
it doesn't have little white
little
flowers.
white
Make
flowers.
sure,
Yeah.
Yeah. Typically,
yeah,
lily of the valley is growing like next to somebody's house, though. So
Yeah.
if you
yeah,
think you see ramps next to somebody's house, you're probably wrong.
And also,
right.
too, like,
Point
you
blue
want it
of
to
the
smell
valley.
like garlic.
Yeah. If you pick them and it is not punching you in the face with that garlic onion scent, put it down.
Yeah.
It's not to
Don't
eat.
touch it.
Yeah. To be clear, I'm not advocating that you all go out and start eating whatever you find in the woods. That,
Yeah.
make sure you know what
Yeah.
the hell you're looking
Yeah.
for.
Do your research
Yeah.
first.
And I highly recommend, like, if you are interested in mushroom hunting, like, join a mushroom ID
Mhm.
group. Like, there's tons
Mhm.
of them on Facebook and online, and lots of
Mhm.
people who have dedicated way too much time to educating themselves are happy to share their knowledge with you.
Yes. Exactly.
There's not to pivot, but something I've been thinking about. You can actually grow and cultivate your own mushrooms kind of in your house. Like they have like the sterile mushroom bedding that is inoculized, and you can even
Hmm.
make it yourself. Like that might be an interesting thing to experiment with. I've been thinking about it after I get, more of my house done because I have a big basement to do stuff with.
Yeah.
It's
I
funny
think
you
I'm
mentioned
definitely
that.
going to do a grow house, like not a grow house. It sounds like I'm growing pot. I'm not growing pot. I want to I want to start a lot of my. Uh, I have big plans next year to have like big garden beds, and I want to start a bunch of stuff, like
Yeah.
specifically heirloom tomatoes from
Mhm.
seeds. Um,
Yeah.
Mhm.
because it's hard to find those plants like in all the varietals. So I'm going to try and do a setup in my basement doing that. Sorry, what were you going to say? Funny you asked that. You've grown
But
mushrooms
yeah,
now?
it's funny that you talk about mushrooms because
My brother and sister-in-law bought us a mushroom log for Christmas this year, so it is currently in our backyard doing its thing. No mushrooms yet, but I mean, it's just the sun has literally just come out in Pittsburgh like the last 3 days.
yeah,
So
Yeah, it's been a shitty couple days or a couple weeks.
yeah,
Oh, cool. What kind of mushrooms are going to grow out of it?
oyster,
Oh,
oyster
cool. Nice,
mushrooms,
nice,
yeah.
nice, nice.
Which we're kind of like both of mushrooms were like one of the foods that both of us were kind of really like meh about for a long
Yeah,
time, and we're kind of just starting to come around to them. And oyster mushrooms are one that we both like.
yeah, they're
yeah.
nice and meaty. They have a great flavor. They cook up really, really well. Um,
The mushroom preparation, I feel the same way. I don't like slimy, gross mushrooms,
Mhm.
but mushrooms don't do anything for me. But my God, like if you get a good mushroom dish, it is
Yeah,
so good. But
right. Yeah.
oftentimes they're super shitty. They're super
It's
shitty.
like I
yeah,
realized like probably like when I was 30, it's not that I don't like mushrooms, it's that I don't like crappy mushrooms.
Right. Yeah. It's like
yeah,
a old portobello that has the
mhm,
ribs on it and it's just like gross and it's,
Right.
yeah,
Or like
yeah.
anytime
yeah.
I go to a salad bar and they have raw sliced mushrooms,
Ugh, who
One
does
of
that?
why?
Like, who eats
It's
that?
like eating styrofoam.
yeah,
Yeah,
sponges, yeah.
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 Actually, my sister does that too. Whenever she makes a salad, I'm calling out my sister. And I will tell her this to her
And
face. Like
G makes a darn good
she
salad.
does, but then she'll throw in like raw sliced mushrooms, and I think I've told her about it before. And it's like, why'd you
Just
have to
leave
go
them
ahead and throw these
just
in?
put
Like,
them in a little container on the side for the weirdos who want that.
Just put them in a container and throw them in the compost.
she's probably gonna listen to this and be like, God
Yeah.
damn it! Like, how could you say this?
Yeah.
I'll text
Yeah.
her ahead
Yeah.
of time and give her a heads up, like, hey,
Called you out.
I'm gonna be bashing you in
Yeah.
your
We
sliced mushroom
roasted
salad.
you on this. Yeah.
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 Um, nice. So I guess you're going to make some pizzas today. There's going to be ramps involved.
Mhm.
You've pickled, you pestoed, um, you artichoke dipped. What else have you?
Well,
Have you
I found a new little recipe this year that I wanted to play around with. Um, Here's a close up. This is fennel ramp jam with some mustard seeds in it.
nice. I was going to ask
So,
about jam, like if you could, um, like a pepper jelly, if you
yeah,
somehow
Mhm.
worked ramps into that. So that's fennel and
yeah,
ramp jam.
fennel. Yeah, and I we had bought a fennel bulb and used like the meatier, bulbier part of it for
Hmm.
just roasting in the oven. But then you have the stalks left over, and the stalks are like a little bit fussier to work with. They're
Yeah.
hard to roast because they're
Hmm.
fibrous and
Mhm.
thin.
It's almost like celery stalks.
Right, yeah. So
Mm.
I had kind of been saving them in the fridge to do this little experiment with when we finally had time to go get the ramps. Because this recipe that I found specifically called for the fennel stalks, not the bulb, which
Oh,
is
nice.
unusual. Yeah. So this is chopped up ramp bulbs, chopped up fennel stalks, a lot of sugar,
Yeah.
and water, and a little bit of vinegar, or no, I'm sorry, not vinegar, lemon juice. It's very citrusy because you put lemon
Okay.
juice and lemon zest in it. And then I just love mustard seeds in a savory jam. So the recipe didn't call for
Hmm.
it, but I threw in a heavy handful of mustard seeds and then canned them up. So
Was there
actually,
enough like is there pectin or what or is it just the amount of
yeah, no,
sugar
you
that
just keep
was
boiling
it
it down, and I think it pulls the pectin out of the fennel
fennel?
stalks,
Yeah.
and then yeah, there's like I said, there's a lot of sugar in it that eventually just cooks down into like a syrup. You can see it's a pretty loose jam,
Hmm.
like it's not
Mhm.
totally set. It's
Yeah.
more of a spoonable.
Did you try that already?
I tried it before I canned it, but I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit better now that it's been sitting in the jar
Sure.
for a week.
Mhm.
It gave the mustard seeds more time to plump up
Mm.
and everything
Mm,
get nice
yeah.
and soft. So
Mm.
yeah, that'll. I don't know. We might. You know what? We could crack this guy open and do this on a pizza tonight.
A little
That's a great
drizz.
idea. Yeah,
Yeah,
little
I mean, that
Yeah,
would
drizzle.
be nice also on a charcuterie, or like,
yeah,
if
Yeah.
in lieu of like a honey, like, a spicy
yeah,
honey, now you have this rampy jam. That's cool.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a
That's
great
I
idea.
specifically I made 4 of these little mini jars like this, and these are like the most perfect size
Hmm.
jar when you're doing a charcuterie board because you just crack it
Yep.
open, put it right on the board. It's just the right size. And I
Yep.
love doing my different like savory jams in those and then having them on charcuterie boards all
Mhm.
year.
Yeah, it's nice. Then you don't have to fuss with a small container and then
Yeah.
Mhm.
throw away what's in the container or try and put it back in the jar. You just put the lid on,
Yeah.
throw it back in the fridge. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. I at the end of summer I always do tons of different pepper and mustard jams in these little jars and then
Mhm.
have them all through the winter for charcuterie boards and sandwiches and things.
I want to try, one of our places that we all like to eat was Morcia.
Mhm.
And they have like a violet mustard that they put on
Oh,
their
Ooh.
board. Actually, maybe Cure did it, when you would get their charcuterie board, and it was really good and interesting. And I it's something that I've always wanted to figure out how to um,
yeah.
re-engineer,
Like
like a violet
Not played
mustard.
around with cooking the violets, but we actually, what's really interesting is that this spot that we go to for the ramps, also there's like loads of violets growing at the same
Oh
time. And
wow, okay.
they're the only spots where I've seen yellow violets. So there's purple, white, and yellow violets that pop up in this spot. It's
Huh.
amazing.
which is funny that they're still called violets
Right.
even though they're
They're not
white and
violet.
yellow.
Right. But they're
Yeah.
beautiful. When we were
Yeah.
picking the ramps, I was also picking a bunch of those because we had like we do these like little potluck lunches at my office every time it's somebody's birthday, and we had 2 back-to-back birthdays. So I said I was going to make like a special springtime cocktail, and I used
Okay.
these multicolored violets and mint leaves to make ice cubes. I made like pretty floral ice cubes
Oh, nice.
with them.
Nice. And as they
um,
melt, you get different flavors. That's
you
cool.
get like a little hint of the mint,
Sure.
but really the violets kind of just float to the top of your drink, and it's just cute.
Mhm.
Nice.
So yes, we've done things with edible violets, but not cooking with
Yeah.
them per se.
I
Yeah.
My favorite, I'm not a huge chocolate person, as you know from a previous episode where I, got yelled
Which
at. But
I want to back you up a little bit here. I love chocolate, but chocolate ice cream I kind of have to be in the mood for. It
that's
can
not
be a
that's
little, it's a little, if it's not like amazing, like the
yeah.
best quality chocolate, then it just tastes overly sweet and it makes me really
How did I
thirsty.
surround myself with
Yeah.
people who
I
are
like
as
chocolate
obsessed with chocolate ice cream like
inclusions.
I am?
I'm not saying
Put
I don't like chocolate ice cream. I'm saying that it has to be done well to
See,
be
like for
enjoyable.
me, like I love just like any type of
He
chocolate
likes
your
ice cream.
garbage
It could
chocolate
be
ice cream.
Breyer's chocolate ice cream. I will still eat that shit. Like I'm all
It
about
makes me
chocolate ice
best
cream.
yet.
so thirsty that
Yeah.
I'm like miserable
I agree.
afterward.
Yeah, yeah. So, but one of my favorite, yeah, I don't like chocolate ice cream, but I like dark chocolate, like high quality dark chocolate candy bars. They're so good, and one of the best. So at the company I worked at, many like first place I worked at, this confection company, my favorite chocolate bar they made was a candied violet dark chocolate bar, and
Oh
oh my god,
wow,
it's so good. It was so good.
wow,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, it was
Um,
just a dark chocolate bar with candied violet inclusions in it, and that was it. And
Wow.
it just worked so well.
Hmm.
I would definitely try that, but I also get like a little about violet food, like candies, because do you know what chowards are? It's like
No.
it's like a vintage candy.
Uh huh.
Like if you go to like the Grandpa Joe's or like a penny candy
Sure.
store, they always have them at
Right.
the register. They come in like a little
Okay.
like squarish roll.
Okay.
And we were at one of these shops, and I was like, "Oh, violet candy." I'm thinking it's going to taste like lavender, and I love the taste of lavender. And I bought
Hmm.
them. These I cannot express how much they taste like the inside of your grandmother's purse.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
this doesn't taste like that at
They're
all. And
dreadful.
I'm really like a lot of the floral stuff. I'm really hesitant on. Like, you know how people have like the soapy thing with cilantro, like
Mm-hmm.
rose flavored
Oh,
stuff gets real, like I'm washing my hands in my mouth kind of a feeling.
I have the
Yeah,
Um,
same
yeah.
thing. I have like I've tried and like rose water, for
the
instance. I
smallest
love.
amount of rose water gets soapy in my mouth. It's
Right.
so
Yeah.
I
gross.
love Middle Eastern food. It's one of my favorite, but
Yeah.
the desserts I kind of tread lightly because they really
Hmm.
love the rose water and it
Yeah.
again tastes like the inside of grandma's purse to me. No, thank you.
Did your grandma carry a lot of soap around in her purse? Like, what was?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, no, I love cilantro, but it doesn't get the soapy thing. But yeah, rose for me
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
something I usually steer clear of. If it's really light, I like it, but
Hmm.
um, it's a very steep cliff. But yeah, candy violet, so love it.
Hmm.
I would try it.
Definitely.
But yeah, stay away from the chowards.
Okay, I write that
You're
down.
not gonna like it the rose because I have the same thing with rose that you have, and these were that
Okay,
for sure.
yeah, okay, soapy. I don't know anything. Any other ramp nuggets that you want to share?
Yeah, so I've been playing around with dehydrating, and I do it
Hmm.
every year.
Mhm.
Um, that we pick ramps just to, in other ways to preserve them. So I'll dehydrate the leaves and I'll crush them into making a powder. So that
Hmm.
way, if I want to add like a little burst of flavor to chili or to soups, stocks, whatever, um,
You can
throw,
bake with
yeah,
it,
you can bake with
so it
it.
makes really wonderful
Like
biscuits.
we've made bagels
Oh
before with ram
yes,
powder,
Oh yeah,
and they
your
were like
green
a
bagels.
nice green bagel.
and they had this just fantastic. It was like a subtle, like not a sharp ramp flavor, but a very thorough,
Hmm.
subtle, like
Mhm.
savoriness.
Yeah. And it's one of the things I love to do. And the way that I do it is like we don't have a dehydrator, so I set our oven to its lowest temperature, which for our oven it's 170 degrees, and then I'll just let it ride out for like an hour or so. Check on it, just until they're really nice and brittle.
Well,
Do you put it
also
on like a rack or something?
yes, that's what I was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
gonna
Yeah.
yeah,
say. We
yeah.
have we have the gridded cooling racks that fit right into the
Hmm.
what's
Sheet
it called, a
pan.
half sheet, yeah, a
Yeah,
sheet,
Yeah.
sheet
half sheet.
pan. Yeah,
Yeah.
Um,
just so it gets like good airflow underneath
Yeah.
as
mhm.
well.
Yeah,
Hmm.
works great.
Yeah, it works really, really well. So yeah, just until they get nice and brittle, and then before I'm ready to actually blitz them up, I just put them in a plastic bag and roll the air out, and then I will just grind them up in a spice grinder until it becomes a nice powder. But one thing that I'm doing different this year is like I'm still drying out the leaves, but I'm also experimenting with drying out the bulbs as well. And that was a
Oh.
little bit trickier just because there's more moisture in the bulbs, so it took
Yeah.
a lot longer, maybe like 2 to 3 hours to like actually dry them up. And so once they were dry,
Did you cut? Sorry, did you cut the bulbs, or were you putting them in whole, or were you sort of taking them
oh,
apart? Like, how did you handle the bulbs in the oven?
so I just cut the bulbs off, and then I dried out the leaves separately from the bulbs since the leaves dry
Right.
out a lot
But did you
quicker.
like did you slice the bulbs in half when you were
Oh, no,
dehydrating them,
I
or
left
you
the
just put
bulb
them in?
whole.
Okay,
These were the
got it.
smaller bulbs because we kind
Oh,
of
okay.
reserved all the larger ones for my
Yeah,
little pickling
Pickles. Got it.
experiments.
yeah.
Okay, cool,
And
cool,
so it
cool.
took a lot longer for the bulbs to dry out. But once they were dry, I blitzed them up and I like taste it, and they actually like got a little bit sweeter.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure if it's because of the oven temp and the amount of time that they needed to dry out, um, as to if you were to do it in a dehydrator, if it would preserve that flavor a lot more. So it almost
Gotcha.
like the texture of it is almost like a like granulated garlic, like
It's a
like
little
that
bit
powdered,
sticky.
yeah, like the
Got it.
powdered garlic.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Not sure if I would do it again in an oven. I would probably try to find like a dehydrator or
Yeah,
borrow a dehydrator from somebody
yeah.
and try it out that way.
I
Hmm.
tasted he actually just made this yesterday, so I tasted this last night and I said to him, this the best way I can describe the flavor is a less artificial tasting Funyun.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I actually I know what you're saying. Like that's a weird statement, but I know
I
that what
don't
you're
know
saying. Yeah,
quite how else to describe it because
yeah,
Funyuns have that like sweet, savory
yeah,
thing going
yeah,
on,
Mhm.
and so did
yeah,
this, but without all the maltodextrin flavor that comes with a
Yeah.
Funyun.
yeah. Gotcha. Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. Um, yeah, I've that's a great way to keep ramps happening all year. Is
Mhm.
dehydrate the leaves and have some powder to add and just experiment with them. Yeah, I thought the bagels that you guys made that was super clever.
Oh
Um,
my gosh, they were so good. We have to do them
what
again
if
this
what
year.
if you did the ramp bagels with the dehydrated ramp bulbs on top, like an onion bagel or
Oh,
something,
like make a
Ooh.
ramp
like a
everything
everything
seasoning.
Ooh.
like ramp
Mm.
everything, meaning everything is ramps bagel.
Yeah,
I say we won't be kissing anyone for a week.
we'll have to
Yeah,
quarantine.
nice.
Our mouths. I mean, yeah. I think that'd be really, really good,
Yeah, me
and
too.
definitely worth trying for sure.
Yeah.
And I've thought about blitzing up the leaves with the dehydrated leaves with some coarse sea salt, just to make like a nice seasoning salt.
Yeah.
But if you throw the bulbs in, I think that's a really smart
Mm-hmm.
idea.
Yeah. Oh, I
Nice.
actually just thought of another thing that I was using up last year's powder, knowing that he was about to make new powder. So I was like just trying to get last year's powder like used up. So I made like a pretty big batch of like a ramp. I call it like Rampy Ranch, but it's essentially just like a buttermilk dressing with ramp powder in it.
Oh, so it's like a Greek goddess
Yeah,
ramp
basically.
dressing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a really simple, yeah,
Nice.
buttermilk and yogurt based dressing and just dump a ton of the ramp powder in it. And it,
The,
it tastes a little bit like ranch, but not quite as
it's our ranch,
Ramp.
ramped.
ranch.
Yeah.
Ranch. There's so much you can do. And that like it's so creative where it's like, okay, this is a thing. It's similar to this other item in a recipe. Swap them out and just start
Yep.
exploring. It's fun. That's cool. That's
Yeah,
super cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great
Any
process.
recipe you have that calls for garlic, leek,
Hmm.
scallions, you just have to kind of think about which part of the garlic, the leek, or the scallion is this recipe calling for, and which part of the ramp can I substitute?
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool.
It's a great
Cool
journey.
stuff.
It's a great journey.
Yeah. So there's another. I think it's even a shorter season later in the year, and I'm kind of bummed out because they don't really grow up here, but they're down in your neck of the woods. It's the pawpaw. A
Yes.
Yeah.
native,
Hmm.
sort of almost like a banana-y, tropical mango-y
Yeah.
fruit that is in the Northeast.
Like
Maybe
something that you wouldn't
that's
think
another
grows.
episode, but
Yeah.
Yeah, the
yeah,
flavor of it does not scream Pennsylvania, but here they
no,
grow.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like a rural mango.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they're like with the banana texture.
It's
That should be
got like
another
banana
conversation.
pineapple vibes for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be our September
Hmm.
special episode
Yeah.
Yeah,
when
stay tuned
we
for the pawpaw.
when we go by. The pawpaws though we don't forage for.
No.
I
Farmers
happened
market.
upon a guy on Facebook Market that just has a bunch of them growing on his property in Allison Park, and you just roll up to his house with cash, and he sells you a bag of
Yeah.
pawpaws
For like $5, and we'll give you like 5 pounds of
Yeah,
pawpaws.
minimum.
Nice.
Your minimum order must be 5 pounds. He will
Yeah.
not sell you less than 5 pounds. That's
Yeah.
how much he has growing on his property.
Wow.
He's like,
Okay.
please take them.
And
But I
they don't
think
last very long. You gotta move them because
No,
they're
we end up
quick.
bringing them home and like sort of taking them apart and freezing all
yeah.
the guts basically
I think we should put this on pause
on pawpaws.
on pawpaws
Pause. Yeah, for another time.
until September.
Good idea.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't want to spoil too much.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess any more ramp stuff, or we wanna call it for the day.
I don't know. Like, we're still gonna experiment, play around, and if we discover something new and fun, we'll definitely share it on Instagram for sure.
Yep.
Send me those
Um,
pizzas. Show me what you do with
Yeah,
the pizzas later.
of
we'll
course,
definitely
of
take some
course,
pictures of the pizzas
of
tonight.
course.
But I mean, I know you you have not acquired your ramp haul yet this
I
year, but
know.
like what's kind of on your docket for things you want to do with them? Because I feel like we've just been rattling off
No,
our
that's fine.
Yes.
I think you guys gave me a bunch of. Well, I always like to make the powder. To add to stuff all year long. I'll definitely do um a few types of pasta dishes. So with the pesto, I told you, Justin, I was working on this idea a little bit more. Um, I have like I don't even want to talk about it too much, but I have like this seasoning mix that is so good to make like a quick pasta recipe. So think about like high end mac and cheese, but like super
Mm-hmm.
flavorful. Things like mushroom powder and stuff is in it, and it gets like really
Mm-hmm.
this
Yeah.
savory kind of uh, you know pasta dish. So as we're talking about like powdered ramps, I could see like trying to do like a powdered ramp pasta thing.
Mm-hmm.
Ramp butter is nice to make steaks with. I
Yeah.
love like basting steaks
yes,
in ramp
Yeah.
butter.
absolutely.
Um,
And to
but
that,
yeah,
there's a great ramp butter video that our friend Zach made
Yes,
it
that you
has
should
it.
definitely go check out.
I should.
yes.
I need to get my views this year. I'm not in the number one ramp butter video on YouTube like I was last year.
Well, and you know
Um,
what I wanted to mention earlier, if anybody wants to come at you about digging up ramps from that video, tell them where you got the ramps from.
you guys gave me those ramps, yeah.
That's
Yeah, we
right.
did.
So
So
they can
Mhm.
come after me.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, people like to just bitch about everything. So,
It's true.
Yeah.
um, yeah, anyway. But so I just love pickling things. I love pickling things
Mhm.
because it's just like a cool way to experiment with different types of pickle brines, whether they're sweet or dilly or spicy. You don't have to be super precise, like when you're making that stuff, like with the added flavor. Like you can really, really put anything in them. Um, but it's such a great way to add like an acidic uh,
Right.
salty, pickly thing to almost anything that you're making, and it just totally changes the food. So that's fun. I'm gonna rack my brain a little bit and see if I can think of something. I like this idea of making a dish where you're using all the different parts of ramps in a different way. So you know that's kind of neat. Like
Mhm.
using it to make a dip, but um, the idea of the bagel where you're making the bagel with the powder but then using the dehydrated bottoms for the top. That's cool.
Right. And then like what if you slice that and then put some kind of ramp schmear on it?
Mm,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, your smoked ramp cream cheese on the ramp bagel.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Bulb
wild.
to tip, baby.
Bulb.
Bulb to
Bulb to
tip.
tip. I'll
Nothing
write
goes
that
to waste.
down. Bulb to tip.
Bulb to tip, hearty nuts,
To
cheese
tip.
brulee.
Cheese brulee. Cool. All right. Well, hey, this was great, Mandy. Always a pleasure. Glad we got
Um,
all of your, ramp insight. I feel like that really made this episode so much better than just Justin and I
Oh, for
babbling
sure.
for,
Yeah.
90 minutes. But and also, hey, we pretty much stayed on one topic for the entirety of
We
this.
did.
So we'll see.
We did.
with a,
That's
We'll
right.
see if listeners
we had a
appreciate that.
chocolate ice cream interlude though.
And that's
That's fine.
okay.
We
That's
can't avoid
okay.
those. Those cannot
Yeah.
be avoided.
Yeah. We started on
um,
ramps and we're ending with ramps.
yeah, full circle. All right, y'all. It was a pleasure. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And
Yeah,
like
you
I
too,
said,
bud.
YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and get at us if you like ramps or wild leaks and you have ideas or questions. Slip into our DMs or email us at scratchthehog@gmail.com. All right,
We want to
take it
hear
easy.
all of your favorite ramp recipes, and you don't have to tell us where your spot is, but
Right.
Share
Or
share
you know what else?
pictures.
Like, tell us what else you're foraging for this
Yeah.
spring, other than mushrooms, ramps, or wild violets. You know, what else is out there that we're not digging out of the ground that
Yeah.
we should?
Yeah. I love that could be a whole cool episode of just
Yeah.
That would be.
foraging. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. This is great.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Good seeing you, Mac.
You
Bye,
guys
buddy.
as well. Bye.
Bye.